Okay, we are live. We are here. We are so excited to welcome everybody back for our December Wellbeing Wednesday. Oh, I forgot as usual that I have sound on my phone. Ha. There we go. Okay. You all who have been with us, you know that I'm still working on the technology aspect. So we're almost there, though. We are almost there. So I want to give a special welcome to everyone who is returning for Wellbeing Wednesday, who's been with us before, and also welcome to everyone who this is your very first time. So we do want to welcome you back for today's episode of Wellbeing Wednesday, which is the monthly segment that shows childcare providers and caregivers like yourselves simple ways to support your own well-being, because taking care of ourselves is in fact taking care of others. Whether you're an early childhood educator, director, parent, or someone who just feels like a parent some days, you're sure to pick up tidbits of actionable advice about how to support your overall well-being and get back to feeling like yourself. I'm your host, Susanna Creed, the Wellbeing Be Well, Care Well Arkansas Program Manager, Wellbeing Coach, a lot of things there. This is a Curricula Concepts program that's all about supporting the well-being of our child care providers. And we have Mr. Mark Foster here, and we will get into a great convo with him in just a short moment. It is holiday season, y'all. This is a time full of lots of love, lots of fun, family, food, and gifts. Sometimes we get swept away in the gift-giving part of the holidays, though. In showing how much we love our friends and family, we break the bank on our end. But it doesn't have to be like that. I do want to assure you that. So today, I'm excited to welcome our guest, Mr. Mark Foster, the Director of Education for Credit Counseling of Arkansas, a wonderful organization that is meant to support Arkansans in their financial health and well-being. He's going to share a couple ways that we can celebrate the holiday season without breaking our own personal piggy bank. So thank you so much, Mark, for being here. We are so glad to have you. And I want to just kind of jump on in there and see, what are some things that you think you want to start us off with when it comes to the holidays, finances? So, we don't come out January 1 and be like, oh no, what did we just do?
It's easy to do. About 1 in 5 Americans say they're still paying on last holiday season. And combine that with the fact that about 1 in 4 Americans are saying this year they don't plan to buy anything at all. Now, whether that was because they overdid it last year or things were financially haywire, that was really interesting, because I don't think I've ever heard that stated before. I think that was a Wallet Hub survey Wallet Hub did that said 1 in 4 said they're not going to buy anything this year. And I thought, wow, I don't even remember back during the Great Recession if it was that low. So very interesting.
Yeah. Do you think it has to do with kind of the effects of COVID and the quarantines and everything that maybe has affected people's, maybe the lens that we see finances through, and especially the holidays of like, okay, I don't know about this year.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. I mean, that all the extra money is gone. And that's one of the things we wondered at CCOA is when we know there's people out there who need help, but maybe right now they don't have that pain point. Usually people don't come in and get any kind of help or counseling unless they're experiencing some kind of financial pain of some sort. But we were wondering, well, now that the extra federal unemployment monies is gone, the stimulus payments are gone, folks will come in, and we hadn't really seen that like we had. And that's a national trend with credit counseling. So it's not just our agency. With there's a lot of speculation is part of the reason why only, why only about 25% of Americans, or why that many Americans say we're not going to even buy anything this year for Christmas. Is it because of, the whole, not to get political in any way, the world is ugly enough with politics, but just the fact of the job mandates having the vaccination requirement, is that playing an issue with some people, why they said, well, we're not going to be able to get presents here? I don't know. But that statistic definitely stands out. But the biggest thing for the holidays is always know how much you can afford to spend. Because it's too easy for us to get excited, and the Christmas lights are up and the music is playing and I'm excited for the holiday. I mean, I've got some friends who, I'm also a licensed therapist, and I've got some friends who love Christmas so much, it probably borders on being an official DSM-5 diagnosis of some kind.
The holidays are just so exciting.
It is.
We're just all like puppies.
It's easy to do it in reverse and start spending first, and then later hope it doesn't wreck your personal finances too much. But of course, the important thing is, take a step back. Okay, how much can I afford to spend? Whether it's an overall set amount, or some people find it easier to say, I can do this much per paycheck. I kind of like doing that approach and saying, okay, well, I can afford, whatever, $50 a pay period or what have you to go towards Christmas, and budget it that way from now through the, till Christmas time. So, but the important thing is have a game plan, know how much you can afford to spend. Too many folks just, boom, they're off to the races, and what a great deal on Black Friday. And, there are some great deals and Cyber Monday and Cyber Week and all that. But if it's something that you can't afford, you're going to feel that financial pain and stress later. And we don't wish that on anybody.
So I wonder, I'm a big example person, and I'm like, all right, I need to know how to apply this. So can you maybe say you're like talking to me about this, and this is not necessarily, just disclaimer, y'all, this is not necessarily financial advice, simply an example walkthrough of how we can apply this in our own lives. But say, I'm really excited to shower my nieces with lots of love, but I want to take your advice of like, okay, what can I actually spend and how can I do this? Can you walk me through the process? Let's say, for example, every pay period, I get paid twice a month, and every pay period I get after taxes, $500. And I'm like, I really want to get them some good gifts, but I don't know how to understand and how to figure out what can I afford. What do you think? And again, not financial advice, just kind of general walking through that type of exercise.
Sure. I mean, many people may know, hopefully you do a budget. It'd be easier to tell if you did, and then you can see how much wiggle room you've got, how much you can carve out per pay period to set aside. You can also start thinking about a Christmas club account, although those are pretty quaint. A lot of banks might not even offer those anymore, but some do. My Christmas club account with Arvest, the account number was 25. And every time I'd go to a teller, they would say, what's your account number? I'd say 25. And they'd look at me like, what? That was my account number. It was really weird. But anyway, that's no longer my account number in case you want to rate it and take money out. There's no.
Perfect.
But you can get a secondary savings account and start off for next year. It doesn't have to be necessarily a Christmas club. You can just say, I'm going to get a savings account. That's just what it's going to be earmarked for. And I'll just, even have auto pay, put in 5, 10, 15, 20 bucks, whatever per paycheck in there. So ta-da, when it comes time to go shopping later this year, for next year, then you've got that money. So that's a strategy that can be helpful. But one thing we have to be careful of is not to fall into the trap of, I love you so much, I'm going to show you how much I love you by spending all of my money and then some. I mean, it's human nature. We like to get things for people we love, of course, and that's perfectly fine and well and good. But what can be troublesome is if we overdo it. And oftentimes we can think how much I love that person depends upon how much I spend on them. And that's what we would call a cognitive distortion.
Yeah, can you maybe walk us through that? Because I know some people, like, if you heard of the 5 love languages, like that gift giving, it's just very important to them. So how can they still show that? And what is the distortion? Sure. And maybe how can they, like, how can they still fulfill that language of love while not putting themselves at a detriment, if that makes sense?
And I've actually met Dr. Gary Chapman once when I was in grad school. He knew one of my counseling professors, but the 5 love languages, or gifts, is one of the love languages. And we tend to show people love in the way that we feel loved. So if you feel loved by getting gifts, then you may want to shower other people with gifts. And again, we just have to be careful that's something we can afford. But there's different things we can do to show how much we love someone. One is a gift of an experience. It doesn't have to be buying them an expensive gift. It could be taking them out if they like going to, we have a place up here in Northwest Arkansas called Fast Lane, and it's like got video games and bowling and stuff like that. So maybe it's your old little certificate. I'll take you out to this fun, place, or I will, take you to, the movie of your choice or the restaurant or that kind of thing. So giving more of an experience rather than just shoving a ton of money on a particular gift.
Yeah, that actually gives me an idea and reminds me of something that I did once, especially. So say, kind of going back to the example, I think I'm just going to pull from that. So say I don't have a Christmas account. I didn't start saving. It's the holidays. I want to show people I love them. But financially, I know like I don't really have a cushion right now. But especially two things, especially if, and tell me if I'm right on this, if giving gifts is really my love language, that is how I show people that there's two things I can do right now, even if I've never started. One is I can create a savings account or a separate account, or even just putting cash under the couch cushion, something separate that every single month I set aside a certain amount to start saving for next year. And if I'm ever like, oh, well, I need this extra $20, it's like, remind myself, this is how I show love. And that, so this is actually me giving a gift every month. So maybe that could help, because sometimes it's so easy to be like, oh, well, I don't need to put it away this year. But especially for those, I saw it in the chat, someone was like, oh, there's a word for that. Like, yeah, if that's something that's really important, you're giving a gift for people every single month by setting that money aside. But you still have the problem of, what am I going to do right now? You just reminded me of something that I did a couple holidays ago, which was I gave out coupons. So for me, I'm kind of crafty, or you can honestly find a bunch of them on Pinterest that you can print out. If I start saving now, I can say, I'm giving you this coupon that you can redeem before March 2022. Like something, so it's like, it gives me enough time to start saving for that Fastlane trip, or for this, maybe it's an aunt that really wants a massage. Like, it gives you buffer time to save for that, to show them that you love them, while also giving them something right now. So it's like, you're still giving that gift, but you are actually working within your own budget. Now, I do want to check, because I'm like, this makes sense in my head, but Mark, is that kind of some of the things that you were talking about?
You can utilize that approach. There's speaking of the 5 love languages, and I've done entire programs just on that, but
yeah, it's a lot of good stuff.
Dr. Chapman says, there are 5 love languages, and we tend to show people love in our love language, but you get a 4 out of 5 chance of being wrong that's not their love language.
That is
so
true.
if you know what resonates the most with your friend or family member that you love, if you can be mindful enough and aware enough to see, well, gifts are nice and all that, but for that person, they really love quality time. That's their love language. Then you could give the gift of, why don't we go play disc golf at the park on a nice day? It's actually nice this week, disc golf, go to a park, or this, some kind of time together that would resonate the most with someone who quality time is their love language. So wearing that hat and thinking of what means the most to them, of course, first you'd have to take a look at what are the 5 love languages and what resonates the most with this person. But if you can tailor that, and I've tried to do that with like some of my coworkers, where I'm like, okay, words of affirmation, compliments, and praise is going to resonate the most with them. So maybe doing a card with the traits and attributes and characteristics and things that I appreciate the most about them, that's going to resonate more with them than a box of chocolate or something. So I try to be mindful of that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if anybody who's on here right now is a gift giver, we sometimes will put the pressure on ourselves. Like, we think we need to give the gifts, but giving gifts is how we show love. So maybe we don't have to put that entirely into physical gifts or monetary gifts. that giving of a gift is giving something and putting in the time to understand what they want. You might have somebody who like gifts, they don't care, but instead they are big on hugs. Maybe you have, your youngest nephew loves to give hugs and is just very physical. Like maybe it could be, I don't know, like an auntie out day or thing where you just kind of let them like glom onto your leg and you just hold their hand and you take them with you everywhere instead of giving them this giant, race car bed per se that we think we need to do. And I'm actually looking up right now the love languages. If anybody is interested, I'm putting it into the chat. So if anybody wants to learn a little bit more about what this is, if you're a gift giver, you can give that gift by putting in the time to learn what the people in your life want, what they love, and give that way. And again, instead of maybe thinking, oh, well, I want to buy the most expensive gift, I need to put $100 every paycheck away into this separate account. It's like, well, maybe I actually only need to put 20, which is more doable for me. And then I can find other ways to give gifts. Coupons are great, especially if they're hand-drawn. It doesn't matter if your handwriting is good or not. It's a lot of times thought that counts. So you kind of have some buffer there. But I love how you brought in these 5 love languages and kind of using that as a way to circumvent needing to spend all this money sometimes.
You bet. Yeah, my youngest daughter works for like a decluttering company. And this last day before Thanksgiving, she came over and helped my wife and I totally clear out our garage and declutter. I mean, it took 3 of us, and she was professional at doing it, has been doing this for a while now. It took us all day. It was about a 10-hour day. It shows you how much work there was to it. But at the end of the day, wow, we have this garage. We can actually park both of our cars in the garage now and move around. And so that meant a lot. That meant more than, getting a necktie or a box of chocolates or something. So that was, and she was utilizing her skills and doing that for free and so forth as a gift, was very nice.
Wow. That's awesome. I might need to get that contact info from you after.
I paid her anyway, because, I'm dad. So I'm the ATM of dad. I paid her and she was willing to do it for free, but yes.
Well, and that's kind of like one of those exchanges where it can still be a gift on either end, right? She was kind of gifting you that, but then you were also kind of gifting her in that way, but it wasn't necessarily, like the exact same thing. One was the skills, one was, the financial. And actually during our last Wellbeing Wednesday, we talked about kind of the spirit of giving and how the different ways that we can give of ourselves and be of service. And we talked about this idea of, let me see if time, talent, and treasure, and that kind of falls into time of giving of that quality time. So that's one of those 5 love languages. Treasure is, giving some sort of gift or monetary, but then there's talent. If you're really good at something and you can kind of donate that skill to one of your friends, one of your family members, like that can mean so much. Like I just moved into a house. I like DIY projects. I like decorating. It is totally overwhelming because I've never done this before. If one of my friends was like, I'm going to gift you an entire weekend where I'm just going to help you pick stuff out. Oh my gosh, that would be like, I would need no other gift. That would be all I need. So this is a really beautiful time to get creative. And especially with the statistic you talked about earlier, so many people have not wanting to purchase gifts this year. That means we can be even more creative. It doesn't mean there's a limitation, y'all. It means that actually that gives us a platform to be innovative, to create, and to see what other options are there that maybe we haven't thought about, because all we're thinking about is Toys R Us, Walmart, Amazon. I think I just dated myself by saying Toys R Us. Are they still a thing?
Didn't they go bankrupt?
I think so, but then I thought they came back. I don't know. See, even major corporations are having a time this year, y'all. It's not just us. I want to check in real quick. Anybody who is still watching in the chat, feel free to, if there's specific questions you have, if there's, a tip that you have that you want to share, please feel free. Oh, Sarah. Yes. Sarah's going to be my weekend of shopping and helping me design stuff. Sarah, I will text you about that and I will hold you to that. be warned. But anyways, yeah, if anybody has any questions for Mark or any questions about this topic at all, as we're talking, feel free to share them in the chat as well. So anyways, I've talked a lot, Mark. I'll give the floor back to you.
Okay,
I just get excited.
Homemade stuff, you know, if you can make a homemade pecan pie or chocolate chip cookies or things like that, I think people greatly appreciate it because it's more rare these days for someone to do something homemade. Everybody's in a hurry. We've got 101 things to do. So, you know, homemade stuff was fairly the norm when I was a kid growing up, but now it's extremely rare. So if you have that talent and a little bit of time to do that, you know, it's not going to cost you much money making some chocolate chip cookies or a pie or something versus maybe going out and buying those perhaps.
Yeah. And as someone who does a lot of DIY, one of the suggestions I would have with that too, building on that, is if that's something where, you know, if you're going to make one or two, don't worry about this. But if you're like, I'm giving everybody something DIY, see what you can find and what you can come up with that maybe you can make a bunch of them, because then you can look at bulk pricing. Mm-hmm. So instead of buying individual mason jars, you know, one at a time at the Dollar Tree, which will now be, I guess, the $1.25 tree, which, you know, you could get 10 of them for 10 something dollars. Or like I've seen even at Target, they'll have like 12 larger mason jars and they will be maybe $8.99. It's little things, but if you think about it, like, okay, if I can get all these cards printed, if I can do it printed and then I get them all on one sheet and cut them out, or, you know, is it going to be more cost effective to actually just handwrite them versus printing them because of color ink or because of what Office Depot costs, whatever it is, you know? So see if you can do bulk. I did not do that. And that was probably even just a couple dollars I could have saved, you know, and that probably would have helped when I came up for air back in January. I've been like, oh, look at those extra $5 I did not have to spend when I could have gone to this other place and gotten it cheaper because it was in bulk.
Go to Sam's Club, get 100 jars for $50.
Exactly. And see, like I just looked at Target or something, and we have Costco now. We have, you know, what is it? We have Costco, we have Sam's Club, like you said, Walmart, Amazon, a lot of them will have bulk deals. So especially if you're like, okay, I'm pretty sure that I want to make this DIY cookie jar mix, and you know, you need about 20 jars. Just look up like the big ones and see, okay, where can I get 20 jars the cheapest? Or if you go to Sam's Club and you can get more, maybe you think, okay, I can use half this year and then I can save half to do next year DIYs. So,
and by the way, in buying in bulk, it's kind of like I before E, except after C. Sometimes buying in bulk is a general rule of thumb, good way to go to save money. But there have actually been stories by Consumer Reports and TV 4029 that have said that's generally the case. And it may be the case on most things, but it's not the case on everything. And I actually took a list one time from stuff I normally bought at like Walmart and went to Sam's Club and compared the unit cost. And on most stuff, it was cheaper to buy bulk, but there were some things that it surprised me. Oh, nope, I'll keep buying that at Walmart. So do the math so you make sure you get a good deal.
Exactly. So it's like, say, you know, you're going to make 5, whatever this year. I just keep going back to the mason jar. You might compare Dollar Tree, Amazon, Walmart, Target, and Sam's Club. Say Sam's Club, you can get 50 jars for $30. That seems like a deal, but if you're only going to make 5 and you're not sure if you're going to do it again after this year, you might have a bunch of extra jars and $30 that you spent. Or you could have maybe found, okay, the Dollar Tree is the best option because then I can get only 5 and it's going to cost me somewhere between $5 and $7, you know? So even though it looks like a good deal, think it through before you go and look at your items. Because again, if you're going to do one for this person, a different thing for someone else, that's going to be different than if you're going to try to do a whole bunch. So definitely I agree with that. Bulk is not always better.
It's not always better, as the saying goes. Yeah.
Yes.
Especially if you're not going to use it, it's just going to collect dust or something. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. And then you have to call in your daughter for the decluttering. Like that's how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I have had some people say they will go in with a friend or two on a bulk because they're like, I'll never use that much, but I'm going in with my friend Susan or Beth, and
That is so
together,
smart.
and then together it works out for them. So,
Huh. That's a really good idea too. Also, real quick before we kind of start to wrap up, we do have a question in the chat. So this is from someone who is in Northwest Arkansas. They're wondering if Credit Counseling of Arkansas, or CCOA, which you can see right behind Mark's background, they're wondering if you all are doing any in-person classes right now, or if it's only virtual.
at the moment, we are doing not educational classes in person necessarily, but we are doing one-on-one personal financial counseling, which quite honestly, that's even nicer because you get that customized for you, taking instead of a general approach on things, a specific approach for you. So we're doing that in person as well as phone and online. And that's a free basic appointment.
Yeah. So before we kind of close out, can you give a little bit more information about the types of resources that CCOA offers, kind of the cost of them, or how they would go about, like if people are watching this, how they would go about signing up for those?
Sure. I do programs on that, and that takes up to a half hour. I know we don't have that much time, so
I know.
I'll make it brief. But in a nutshell, we are the only organization that does what we do in Northwest Arkansas. In fact, I think the entire state now, the only nonprofit credit counseling agency. We've been doing it for over 25 years now. But most people find the best place to start would be a free financial counseling session where a certified financial counselor will create a budget with you, an action plan, tie you in with resources and ideas and strategies and help you. So some people do that if they're in debt. Some people do that, they're doing okay, but they just want to kind of like a tune up a car and do even better.
Yeah.
And that's free. There's no catch on that. We're not trying to sell you a timeshare in Orlando or anything. It's just grants, and more grants. And so grants allow us to be able to do that session for free. We also help people deal with debt and get out of debt within 3 to 5 years on a debt management program, which we can address during that free session if it's the right tool for you or not. And there is a fee if people go on to do that, but it can save thousands of dollars in interest and over the limit fees and so forth. So that's another thing that people utilize often, about 20% of the time roughly, but not the majority, but it's a great tool for many people if they need that.
Awesome. And we did have a question about how do they sign up for the free counseling, free credit counseling session. And I believe, so in the chat, y'all, I put the CCOA website, which is www.ccoacares.com. And they are really awesome and very patient people. And I also shared the phone number. So I believe that they can call that number to schedule their free consultation. And even if you're not in Northwest Arkansas, you can do it over the phone. You can do it virtually. So wherever you are in the state, you can sign up for that. So you can sign up either on the website or by calling that number. And also, y'all have a bunch of amazing free resources and education tools that are on your website. And I highly recommend anyone who's like, well, I'm not sure about this one-on-one. If you're hesitant at all, or if you're just interested in financial tools, start there. It is great.
Thank you. And the free financial education, I should mention, even though we're not necessarily really doing public classes right now, we do have our financial skills center that's free online education that's optimized for mobile. So you can do it on your smartphone. If you go to our website at CCOAcares.com, and scroll down, you'll see Financial Skills Center. Just click on that. It'll hyperlink and take you right to that section.
Yep, it's fantastic. It's kind of gamified. So I know a lot of us, we don't really have our laptops or we don't use them all the time. It really is awesome on the phone. So highly recommend, highly recommend to check that out. And again, it's free. So, and if it's kind of fun because it's really quick and you kind of can do it when you have time, which I know we're all super busy. So it's a very useful tool. Well, again, I want to thank you so much, Mark, for
Thank you.
hopping on this chat with us today. I hope that you all who are watching live and also those of you who watch on the replay, I hope that you got a couple of really good tips and tricks. I know I definitely have, even though I was using the example, I'm like, oh, let me think this through. So as we close, I do want to give a special shout out one more time to our partners at U of A's Early Care and Education Project. They're the ones who helped start Be Well, Care Well in Arkansas, and by default have also helped us bring Wellbeing Wednesday to you all. Please make sure to follow Curricula Concepts on Facebook and Instagram so you don't miss a thing, and you'll get updates about next month, and you can catch this replay too. If you liked today's show, please feel free to share it with your friends, family, and coworkers. And if you're a child care provider and want to learn more about enrolling in Be Well, Care Well Arkansas, you can visit curriculaconcepts.com/be-well-care-well. I'll put it in the chat. We'll put it in the chat there. This has been another Wellbeing Wednesday. I'm your host, Susanna Creed, wishing you well and happy holidays.